All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome again to the Mind, Body, Spirit Network, weekly online meetup group. This is a lovely networking, collaboration, and learning group. And once a month, we have outside guest speakers that come and help you with the business side of your life. Although Dawn today is going to cover many sides of your life. All aspects are related to what she's going to talk to us about today. So I'm just going to share a little bit about Dawn. Hold on one second, and then we'll get cracking. So as I said earlier, Dawn is the leader of one of the biggest meetup groups in Denver for women. It's called Wildly Successful Women. And she has 5 different groups around the Denver area, and then one in Palm Springs. And Dawn is committed to empowering people to create transformation. And with over 25 years as an entrepreneur, coach, author, body worker, and breath worker, she brings a deep understanding of spiritual principles alongside grounded practices for life and for business. And I'm going to share Dawn's website. You can check it out later in the chat box. It's simply DawnTodd.com. And Dawn, would you like this kind of more in a group feel, in that you see everybody, or what do you think?
Well, yeah, that's great. If I can see everybody, right. Sure. Yeah.
On my screen, you're right in the middle, like Paul Lynn in Hollywood Squares, so this works. All right, Dawn, have at it, woman.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today, and so great to meet all of you. And so sorry, technology kind of needed to reset itself. For me, that's always a really good sign that we're going to have a great conversation. That's my favorite kind, a super high frequency conversation where we're really talking about something that's important. And so what I'm going to talk about today is something that I've shared with a lot of women. I've lived it myself, and it really is this connection between our body and our business. And we're going to really dive into the connection between what's happening in our body has everything to do with what is or what is not happening in our business. And we'll work with 3 major power centers in the body. I call them the feminine power centers. I will just say, as a quick side note, I'm beginning to understand even more that this is not a feminine phenomenon, that it is more of an awakened phenomenon. So I often use the word feminine, and so it's not a disrespect to the masculine in any way at all. So it is designed to be inclusive, but we are girls here today, so we're going to be using the word feminine. And so today we're really going to understand how what's happening in our body, we can start to harness this energy and really understand it to improve our relationships, to make more money in our business, to really land solidly on our soul calling and our purpose. And if you feel like you've been stuck in places or struggling to make a decision about something, I'm going to give you some tools today that I feel like will really help you move through that lack of clarity, and some tools that you can use long after this phone call. So the first power center, we're going to learn an exercise that will help you really eliminate the #1 barrier to success that I most often see with people. The second power center has a big input in to how we actually live our destiny, and I'm going to show you a process that will help you unlock that if you've been struggling with, am I really on purpose or not? And the third power center is the place where we really play the biggest game we play in life and be really willing and ready to step into that. And we'll learn a tool that can help you really make that a reality. So I hope that you can just relax and kick back with your coffee, and we will dive in. So one of the things people often ask me is, it's great if the business and the body have a connection, but I don't know if that really applies to me. So here's a couple ways that you could know this might be a conversation of interest to you. If you feel like you're really here to make a bigger impact in the world, and it feels like every time you get close to that, there's just this inner barrier and you kind of bounce off it, like you just can't get to that next level, and you know that it's there. If you have this deep desire that literally is like tapping you on the shoulder in the middle of the night to make a difference, and you just don't, it's like an itch you can't scratch, you just don't know what it is, and it's very frustrating. And maybe you've got the money part really dialed in, but every time you expand, like you start to scale, things just don't, they just don't scale well, or they, something, I call it like dropping off the table. One thing's working on this side of the table, and then all of a sudden it falls off on this side of the table. Or maybe you find yourself in this habit, this continual habit of feeling exhausted because you're overgiving, you're overdoing, and it just isn't very much fun anymore. And I, as you could tell from my question this morning, I'm all about pleasure, because you'll really learn how pleasure is about power. So the idea is that if you're running at an energy deficit, which means you're not creating what you want to create and you're feeling overwhelmed, all reasons why this conversation could be powerful for you. And I think that's so common because, especially for women entrepreneurs, nobody really understands our unfailing passion for our business and our project, and understands what makes us get up at 1 o'clock in the morning because we had a brilliant idea, and work long hours, most likely far more hours than you ever worked as an employee. And the balance that happens, especially if you're running a business from home, that can be extremely challenging to have your family give you the space that you need to work and not be sucked into the family drama, right? And you may also have noticed that there's this big uprising of, I'm going to call it awakening. I guess I feel it in my body as this upward movement of energy that is demanding absolute integrity and absolute alignment with what we're really called to do. And it's literally, I think millions of women are feeling this way. I've talked to women, I actually have clients on almost every continent, and it's amazing to me that people in Europe, in South Africa, in South America, women have the same feeling of something's up, something's going to change. And the challenge then is that it's such a big wave of awakening and movement that we aren't quite sure how to capture it, right? Because really what's happening is that we're stepping into a new power system, but we're still using all the rules from the old power system, right? And that's why it's so frustrating, because we can't really master this new energy wave that's coming in with the old energy and the old paradigm of the way we've done things. And we see it everywhere around us. So that power system that we've been well accustomed to and been raised in, and by the way, it's completely amazing. It really helps you duplicate things. Like in that power system, that paradigm, if you want to, move a rock, 1,000-pound rock, and you want to move it 1,000 times, and you want to do it the exact same way every single time, that power system is amazing for that, right? And really all the structure of life, like business and banking and education and all of our rules and regulations have been created in this old power system. But what's happening is this new wave of energy is coming in, and so it kind of gives it the rub. It's just uncomfortable. And so what we're talking about today is how to really step into that new power system. So, and that it's based in our body. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself, if that's okay. I just finished my 3rd book. Life is pretty good. My husband and I have been married 16 years this year, and together we have 7 daughters. We have, I think, 10 grandchildren. 2 of our daughters are pregnant right now, because it seems like now somebody's always getting pregnant. And so when I think back over, you know, the defining moment, especially around this power shift for me, was really a time when my husband had quit his job and come to work for me. And at the time, I owned a medical massage clinic. And I've been coaching full-time for about 13 years now. And before I was a coach, I owned a medical massage clinic. And we were very focused on folks with post-traumatic stress disorder, mild head injuries. And so I have a lot of training in body-mind medicine, a lot of energy work, every body work modality you can think of. So in Colorado, our auto insurance laws changed, and that kind of eliminated that business model. I don't know if some of you lived in Colorado then or did body work or any kind of healing work then. It really undermined a lot of people's practices. But anyway, our revenues dropped by about 80% over the course of 6 months. And I've been trained as a coach, and I really wanted to step into coaching. And I stepped into business coaching because I knew that I had created that business with a certain set of energetic principles where our revenues were great and really flowing, and it was really based on energy, right? So I didn't know at the time that it was what was happening in my body. I could feel that, but I hadn't really dialed it in. So one of these defining moments was my husband and I are driving to work, and since he had quit his job and come to work for me at the clinic, we were driving to work together. And every morning when I would go into work, I would turn up the music and just like get my party started, you know. And we get in the car and I turn up the music and he turns it off and he says, I cannot listen to that music this in the morning. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a problem, right? Because that's how I like would build my energy. And what ended up happening is we had this basic disconnect about the way we perceived and used energy. And I would raise my energy, bringing it up through the body, and that's what was driving the results in the business. As a guy, he was much more about the nuts and bolts, the mechanics, you know, not that I wasn't about the numbers, because I am all about the numbers, but it was just this basic rub of how we were perceiving things differently. And I realized that in order to maintain a happy home life, what I did was I stepped back and I got smaller and I kind of fit into his idea of what business should look like. And it kind of happened at about the same time this law change happened. Now, I'm not saying if I would have been in my power, I could have changed, you know, withstood that law change, because I think things happen that are far greater than our ability to change reality. It might not have gone down the way that it did if I could have stood in my own power and held that for myself. And so I get really passionate about this conversation because I know that for women, everything that's happening in our body is really related to, bottom line, to our revenue, right? To the money. And so that's where this conversation is going, and that's kind of where I came up with this this idea. And I do want to say really quickly, like, see, I got a message here, make sure that that's, oh, there we go. Okay, nope, it was just Liz giving you guys my website. And I put the handouts for this class and a link there too. You can go download those because you'll probably want to have those in front of you or have a way to take notes. So this idea of manifesting, I'll say what it is not is some new age kind of hokey pokey, you know, sleight of hand, like a wishful thinking for people who are lazy or indulgent. Manifesting is the art.
Pardon me 1 second, Dawn.
Yeah.
I thought that's what I hired you for. Sorry for interrupting.
The hokey pokey? It's like
throw that in, right, you know.
Yeah.
Wishful thinking, let's be yeah.
Right, let's just zen our way to enlightenment by sitting on the couch and watching Dr. Phil. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Dang it.
Sorry to interrupt. I just had to.
That's okay.
You know, but,
That's
so
okay.
I just want to. I do want to reiterate. I don't know if anyone caught that, but in the chat box, Dawn does have a sheet that we can follow in this next step, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
There, you'll probably want that. There's some questions and there's a chart. So you might want to have it in front of you.
Okay. Carry on. Sorry for interrupting.
No, that's okay. I'm really aware of time too. Like we need to be done by 10:30, 10. Which? Oh, I can't hear you. I think you might be muted now.
10 o'clock. It's
10 o'clock.
9:30. It's 9:37.
Okay, so we need to be done by 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I better
rush it along. Okay.
Yeah, because I thought we had till 10:30. So.
Oh no. Sorry. I think I may have told you 10:15. So.
Okay.
We can definitely stay till 10:15, Dawn. If anyone has to go, they can go, but I don't want to rush you, and you got good stuff. So.
Yeah, I want to make sure that I give everyone exactly, you know, as much as I can.
Okay.
I got some cool stuff for you. Okay. So, oh, I love puppies. That's awesome. So anyway, let's take a dive into these power centers. So I just want to give you everything I can and give you an opportunity to take a deeper dive at the end of this conversation if you want to. So if you have that handout in front of you, you'll see an image of a seated person with 3 circles around their body. And we're going to start at the bottom. And I call this the power center of profit and soul message. This energy center is located below the waist in the womb area, right? So the sacral center. And this energy center, this power center, is all about creating belonging, contribution, legacy, of course, related to sex, money, survival. If you have challenges in this, either in this part of the body or in your business, you might notice things like slow cash flow, inability to create a consistent cash flow, like something that's really predictable, feeling like you're not really on track or on purpose with soul calling. Soul calling actually lives in this part of the body because when a soul fully embodies, it buckles down into the perineum. So soul calling and sex and money all really tied into this part of the body. This is why when I start clients, I always do an Akashic reading. I do Akashic readings for people and businesses, which is a soul-based reading. And of course, that makes sense, right? Because our soul message is so tied into this, you know, money part of the body, our survival. So what happens in this power center is if it's shut down or we're not unlocking its full potential, it feels like no matter how hard you try, it just isn't working. And when it's functioning well, you're really able to create prosperity and flow without feeling guilty. You're able to call your own tribe to you, feeling free to be very creative, very intentional, making a living, and at the same time having a great life. And the thing that really unlocks this power center is deciding to take complete and absolute responsibility for what is working and what is not working. And I know if you're in Liz's tribe, you are already a pretty self-responsible person, you know, like you work on self-mastery. But I'm going to say if there's any blip in the energy here, that what the question you could come back to is telling yourself 100% truth. Like, what is the most negative thought you have about why you're not making money? And whatever thought comes up, you want to just grab that very first one. And what have you told yourself? That's the reason you haven't really made a breakthrough. What always happens, right? That's the belief there. And until we take 100% responsibility for that, it just kind of circles around. Each of these power centers also have a shadow that shut them down. And the shadow or core distortion in this power center is all about shame. And shame can either be like shame to make money, of course, sexual shame, shame about our bodies. You know, so many ways women get so subtly shamed in our culture, but it really shuts this power center down. And so this particular power center is also related to our product or what we bring into the world, our gift to the world, right? So soul calling in our product. And you can probably see how if you're in shame or it's shut down, that you might struggle with landing on exactly what is the product here, right? Exactly what is the message. The next power center, the middle one, is all about influence. And if you think about this idea of evolutionary spirituality, it shows us that, energy is moving through us in an evolving way, like taking us into the next big step for ourselves. And in order to awaken to this energy, we have to step into the co-creator process and understand that we're stepping into flow and that it really flows through the heart. And so we claim our own power without diminishing the power of others and speak our truth and ask for what we want. And in business, this is also the sales process. So if you find yourself kind of gulping when it comes to asking for the money, feeling unsure of yourself, feeling like sales aren't where they really need to be, it could be related to this power center. And people who really own this power center have this ability to show up as very gracious. They sort of exude this acceptance, forgiveness. They're very warm and approachable. Makes me kind of think of like first ladies, right? They're just iconically graceful. And it really comes from owning this power center. And so something that can help you move through any stuck place here, and I think that's on the handout too, is thinking about one decision, not 10 decisions, not 10 ideas, just one decision that you need to make. And what would change if you knew that the universe was actually behind you? What would change if you said, I'm going to be a co-creator and step into this flow? It's sort of pulling me, riding me along to my greatest good. And the shadow of this power center is about hunger. I call it the shadow of hunger because, and it's something I really see in the spiritual community so much, it's the fear of not belonging to the tribe, like being so hungry to belong that we feel powerless to really express our authentic self. And this is actually an evolutionary challenge for women because when we were cave people, right, if we were not part of the tribe, we would be kicked out. We wouldn't survive, our children would not survive. So we've become very accustomed to not rocking the boat verbally, right? And it's all in this part of the body, the sales process, asking for what we want and making sure that we're always part of the tribe. So the shadow here is the shadow of hunger. And the upper power center of impact. And in that old system of power that we talked about, we would often say knowledge is power, right? And in this system of power, connection is power. Connection is power. So it's connection to ourselves, connection to our spirituality, to our tribe, to other women. And the more connection that we have, the more we can connect with the energy and intelligence of life. It's really all about staying in that connected state, right? And in order to really manifest and create what we want, we have to engage the support of the community around us, the people around us, because everything that we manifest comes from the action of another person. It typically, unless you are like Sai Baba, where you're manifesting something on your hand, and I think we all are going to be there, it comes from the action that another person has taken. And so it's about that deep connection in the community that we have. And this is really the place where all of that magic comes together, all these power centers, right? Impact is about our marketing and business. Like, how are we going to take our soul message now, and we have learned how to invite people to what we're doing, to the sales process, and the soul message out into the world. Like, how are we getting this graded message out into the world? The marketing piece of it, right? And so we step into that as being this really fearless, confident, feminine leader. And so almost every business conversation, and I'll say in that old power system, started with the marketing, right? Like, what's the size of the market, and how many widgets do I need to sell, and what does it cost to build a widget? Like, it's a descending flow of energy. It's also the think and grow rich conversation, right? Think about it, speak about it, write it. Like, that's how we manifest. And in the new power system of the way that we create, it is a bottom up, and it's an ascending energy. And really, that is the only way that evolutionary entrepreneurs, energy sensitive entrepreneurs can maintain business. It must come from the bottom. So it starts with being deeply aligned with our soul calling and soul purpose, but also not discounting the vital essence of ourselves, especially in that power center of soul calling and profit, right? Which is all about our sensuality and our sexuality, right? So for women, huge source of power, right? Really owning your conscious sexuality is directly related to how much money you make and your soul aligned product. And so I think that's probably the place where I see women struggle the most, because the concept of feminine sexuality is kind of been very hidden, right? It's such a source of potent power, and I just think over the millennia it's been kind of shut down. So next question could be then, okay, great, now I know what these power centers are. Maybe you're kind of identifying, like, I think I'm strong in this one, maybe this one could be a little bit more robust, right? So we're going to actually take a quiz. And you'll see on the second page of your handout, there are 24 questions. And I would like you to go through really quickly. I don't want you to think about it too much. And I want you to circle the ones that feel really true for you. Like, say, when you read it, you're like, yes, I know that's that deep, hell yes, absolutely yes in my body, okay? And I'm going to give you literally like 1 minute to do that, so we stay on time. And let's see, where did Liz go? There she is. You're muted, darling.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to have everybody do that really quickly. I'm going to get a sip of coffee. So when you get done with that, just type like I'm done or something like that in the chat box, so I know. I'll just give everybody a few minutes to do that. Awesome. Thank you, Christine. You are speedy. My girl's speedy. I like that, because that means that those are true answers. Like you didn't contemplate it and try to talk yourself out of it. So awesome. Thank you.
Don, how many were we supposed to circle? Did you say?
And circle all of the ones that you feel are absolutely true for you.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, you might circle all of them. Awesome. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Liz. All right, I'll give people just a few more minutes. I know there are people who like to save their handouts and maintain the pristineness of a handout and take notes on something else and all that stuff. So thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, so now what I want you to do is you've got these questions in front of you, and I want you to draw a line under number 8. And then also draw a line under number 16. So you should have them divided into 3 sections. And then I want you just to quickly figure out which section do you have the most yeses in, and what do you have the most no's in, or the least amount of things circled. Not a no, but. Awesome. So if you have the most number, if you have a lot of things circled in the first 8 questions, what that tells us is that the power center of impact, the upper one, is really strong for you, right? You're really dialed in to how to use your connection to spirit. You're really dialed into the marketing piece. You're probably a natural marketer, or you love marketing, like you just, like Liz, it just delights your soul. And that is a special gift. That is a special gift. If you have a lot of things circled in the middle section, that's about the power center of influence around the heart. You're probably pretty good at sales. You have a way with people, like you just have a way of being with people and feeling very confident about inviting them to what you're creating. And if you have a lot of things circled on the last group, that's about the power center of profit and soul calling. So you probably deeply understand your soul calling. You may even be working with conscious sexuality. If you don't have very many circled on the lower one, you might notice that money could be the challenge. Money and feeling like, gosh, what's the next thing to do to really create money here? The reason I focus on money is because of course, it's not all about the money, right? But it is the an indicator of what our personal life force energy is doing. And it literally makes the world go around right now. And until T-Mobile will take my good intentions and a blessing for their company, I got to get green stuff, right? It's just how it is. So if you don't have a lot of stuff circled in the last group, you know, it could be related to the way you're using your own personal life force energy. And no shame about that, right? Because we're not really taught, like, how do I own my conscious sexuality so I can really be embodied? Like, nobody teaches us that, especially not women. If you have not very many things circled around the middle part, it might be hard for you to actually ask for the sale. I know we have a salesperson, and I think it's Lynn. Is it Lynn Schuessler? Yeah. You know, it might be hard for you to feel like you can say yes to sales. Lynn, this is your world, right? Like, you know that the emotional part of what's happening inside someone has to be resolved. It's not about having another sales script. Any monkey can read a sales script, right? That's not the problem, right? It's what's going on in the body, and that's what's related to this part of the heart. And if you don't have much stuff circled up above, which frankly I hardly ever see in the spiritual community. Almost every spiritual person I meet is like, got this dialed in, right? This is their connection to spirit. And it's really well dialed in. And so all I'm asking you to do is really just drop all the way into the body and find the balance, right? Find the balance with it. So I have a manifesting meditation. And Liz, I might ask for your input about this. I have a meditation to take us through. I also have it recorded as a free download, so you guys could get it that way. Before we jump into that, I just want to take any questions. You're free to unmute yourself if you want to, or if you want to put something in the chat box. Any questions or any thoughts about this whole, I've been going a mile a minute here.
I'm going to share one thing. My lower energy centers are all spinning away right now.
Awesome.
Every time you do this presentation, I hear it from you. They're always like churning away. Like,
people tell me that. They're like, I kind of feel sexy around you. Like, I like boys, but I don't know what's happening. I'm like, well, I will activate you like that. Yes.
Well, Dawn is very sexy, as you should see her in person. Holy cow. Check out her website. You want to see, she's a photogenic, sexy, hot mama. But I think it's the energy of, it's like spirit saying, yes, warm it up down here. Keep the energy moving. It's okay. Let go of shame and blame and all that garbage that's down there. Open it up.
Open it up. And really, you know, from an evolutionary point of view, this is the place that the new human is coming from. It's, we're more and more evolving into a place where we're sensing the world through the sacral center rather than just the heart and the head. And I think we're really seeing evidence of that in the millennials. These kids who are, you know, they're younger than I am. They're my kids or even my grandkids, who are all about the experience, right? Everything they are about, they don't really care about the money per se, but it's about the experience that they have in life. And what that tells me is that they are already evolutionarily dialed in to living from their sacral center, right? It's a full embodiment of soul purpose. And it's so foreign to baby boomers like me who are like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, just freaking get to work and work your 10 hours like I did when I was your age. Like, shut up and do it, right? And they won't. So frustrating. So as a business owner, like, we have to understand, right? If we ourselves are not on that evolutionary edge, our team is not going to be able to do that, right? And we're literally going to time out of these bodies. So that's a whole nother conversation of extending life through embracing the sacral center. But in everything from business to life, it's very, very important. So thank you, Liz, for your comments. That's so nice. Oh, thank you, Liz. You have a teenager. Yeah, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's like that. It's the experience, and it's hard to get them to think about anything else, right? Okay. Any questions about that?
Yeah, I have one. I have something I wanted to share. This was perfect timing, no mistake. And I'm in a public place, so I'm going to filter what I say just a little bit.
You can't use the word sex and orgasm in a coffee shop?
Well, those weren't even the ones I was thinking of, but I might filter those too here. So I have spent the last several months just peeling some onions, peeling those layers, getting shit out of the way, just like I am so crystal clear. Like, I am so done messing around with whatever the story. I love that your slide said, what story have you been telling yourself, right? That is exactly it. And it's not even conscious, right?
Right.
It's we're telling that story in our subconscious mind, and it's a filter that, you know, we don't even know we're doing, but it's there and it's ours, and, you know, it's ours to move it out of the way. And so I just so appreciate this whole, like, kind of giving it a box to put it in, giving it a system to look at it. These power centers are crystal clear, and they're just so powerful. So when I answered the questions, and I didn't have the handout printed, so I was kind of going numbers, but I think I got it. I ended up with 5 or 6 in the first one, 6 in the second one, and 5 in the third one. Okay. So fairly balanced, but clearly the third one was at least 1 less than the other 2. And so in the first section, I could see very clearly, like, 1 or 2 questions that was, all I have to do to ramp that up is, like, do that, you know, like, super clear. But some of the other ones were less clear. So when you take this, what do you do next with it? What's your,
Great question, right? So a couple things. You can use the statements that are there as affirmative statements, right? And anybody familiar with emotion code? Emotion code work? Yeah, where you're choosing an emotion, right? And I'm going to get a magnet, where you're choosing the emotion and you're releasing the emotion, right? We know what that is, right? Which is, I think, okay, that's a great idea. I'm completely down with that. However, why aren't we using a magnet to install emotions? Like hello. So here's my Venus magnet. Is it backwards?
No.
Venus is a razor, and I'm like, oh, Venus, I love her. Okay, here's my Venus magnet. And so you could take one of those statements and you could just put the magnet on your head and just say that statement to yourself, and it will rewire your brain for that statement. So I like to use the magnet, and then I'll hold it at the back of my head and say that statement. I don't know why this works. I want to do more research into it. And I really want to see a system where we're using this magnetic technology to install things. Like, stop being on the path of purification. Like, we're always like, what the hell's wrong with me? Here's another thing to fix me, whatever. What if there's nothing wrong, and we're going to use the path of pleasure, and we're going to install what we want instead of eliminating what we don't? But that's my little bias. So you could use a magnet. You could also do a couple of the meditations that you can download. You can drop more fully into that sacral area and practice conscious sexual cultivation. So that could be self-cultivation through self-sex, or a more robust experience with your partner. There's a lot of techniques around that too. I do talk about that in my book. And then breath work is also a great way of sort of rewiring your brain to in the same way like a magnet does. So I highly recommend breath work. Were you giving me the stop talking, Dawn sign?
No.
Okay.
No. It's 10:05.
Okay,
so
yes.
5 more minutes.
Okay, so what I want to just do is, on your handouts, there's a bunch of links for you. I have, and I saw somebody could not download the meditation. So what you need to do is jump into our community called Love More, Live More. And that is, you'll get extended notes from this presentation, and there is also, I'm sorry, you'll get extended notes from this. I can't talk and do 2 things at the same time. And you'll also get a copy of my 7-step money and mojo meditation, and that's in that community. So here is the place to join Love More, Live More, right here. And let me get you a download to my book. So I just finished my 3rd book, and it's called Embodied Manifesting. And it is about this topic of, covers the power centers and really takes a dive into how do we cultivate sexual energy in a really conscious way. And so it is a full copy of the book. You're welcome to buy it on Amazon if you'd like to. That'd be awesome. Or you can download it for free here. And it's very much related to business too. There's a whole workbook in the back of it that kind of takes you through your marketing strategy, numbers. So it's really about how are we applying conscious sexual energy to business development in a way that is cultivating our energy. So I hope that that's all helpful. And see if I have anything else for you guys there. I think that's it. And as always, many people have questions after this conversation. It's a different way of looking at things for sure. And always happy to just have a conversation if you feel like you need a little more help in tying these concepts together, or are struggling with how to really create some consistent cash flow in business, or feeling really solid about the business that you're creating. That's my jam, is business for women. So
Dawn, thank you so much. This is a good, I mean, anything that gets those lower chakra energies moving is like,
I'm with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So appreciate that. And I just want to let you all know, I've had an Akashic reading with Dawn. If you've never had one, they're pretty fascinating.
They are pretty weird, huh? Like,
they're weird, but they're interesting. You know, they're super interesting. And
Akashic records, so
it's fun. Has everyone here heard of an Akashic record or know what they are? Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course they do. Everyone knows that stuff here.
Yeah. This is the tribe that knows that stuff. So.
Yeah. So if does anyone else have any more questions for Dawn? You can reach out to Dawn at dawntodd.com. That's easy to remember. Check out her website. I so love having you, my dear.
Thank you. I'll just put my email address here. If anybody has a question or whatever, you're welcome to send me an email or reach out.
And Dawn is a business coach with this perspective. So
this is my the paradigm that I am business coaching in. So
so opening up those receptors down there is all related. Money, sex, the whole 9 yards.
Yep, money, sex, and
you shut down that, everything shuts down. Like, no, nothing's coming in. I know. I'm good at it.
Yeah, but you're also good at opening it up too.
Oh, well, it's buzzing away right now. Like, oh, come on in. Welcome. All right, so before we go, thank you everyone for joining us. I just wanted to let you know, heads up on next couple of weeks, Cheryl Murphy is going to be our spotlight presenter next week. And if you come here often, Cheryl is a psychic and spiritual medium, and we're going to talk about opening up to intuition and developing your own psychic abilities, I believe, but mostly, you know, intuitive. It's all the same stuff. You know, receiving information outside of your own self. So she's an awesome healer, and if she takes us on one of her guided meditations, forget it, you're going to launch. I do every time. She's fantastic. You want to come see Cheryl next week. The weekend after that, we have a guest business presenter, Kim Mishke, who's going to talk about visual branding. She's a graphic artist. And I had a peek at her presentation. It's going to be a good one. I'm excited for it. And if no one else shows up, which is unlikely, I'm for sure, because I already saw her presentation. I'm like, I can't wait to see this. I love graphic designers. I'm not really a graphic designer. I'm more of a web designer. And I'm okay graphics, but I'm more layout and stuff like that. Anyway, she's the week after that. And then the week after that, I am talking about link bait, how to create link bait for your website. And then the first week of August is our mastermind week. And then we got all kinds of good speakers. We have another awesome speaker coming in August who talks about somatic money. which is really the same. It's the same topic that Dawn's talking about, different perspective. She's a powerful healer, and she works just on the energy centers of money. And she's coming in sometime in August, but she'll be fantastic.
Yeah, is that Deb from Boulder?
No.
Oh,
it's someone from Paonia that I met.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Dana Stovern. Yep. She's a powerful healer, this one. I can't wait to see what she presents. But
awesome.
you know, it's feeling that area, which is what I'm feeling it right now. That's what we're talking about. All right, farewell, everybody.
So grateful to have this conversation, and such a blessing to meet you. I hope you all have a beautiful day.
Bye, honey.
Bye. I'll see you later.